of our First Take training camp tour, and we are ready to go here with the Tampa Bay Bucks. Joining us, Gerald McCoy, Jameis Winston, Doug Martin, Levante David, and this man. What are you doing here?
I'm getting reacquainted with my friend, the Vince Lombardi Trophy. You know, something you may not know much about, but we're here in Tampa, and we're going to figure out how these guys can get another one. It's Molly, me, it's Stephen A. coming right now on First Take.
Hey, hey, we are right next to Raymond James Stadium where you see the Bucks practicing. We are at One Bucks Place, the Buccaneers training facility. First Take NFL training camp tour continues. Today is our final stop, and we are so excited to be down here in Tampa, Florida. A lot of the players, as you just heard, joining us, Levante David, Jameis Winston, Gerald McCoy, and Doug Martin. But meanwhile, welcome into First Take. Molly Karam here with Stephen A. Smith, Ryan Clark. Max has the day off.
What's up, man?
What's up, brother?
What's up, man? I see you out there pumping up the show, getting everybody ready. You ready?
I'm ready.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, nice suit.
See, that's why I was setting it up, because they already knew who was going to dominate the show.
Well, they know better than that. They know better than that. I must admit, I appreciate the pocket squares. Usually bizarre. I went your route this year.
I like that, though.
Hey,
I like that.
You guys both look clean. You look good. And yes,
Right.
Max is at a boxing fight in Oakland, so he will be back with us.
And we were supposed to be outside in the Florida, sun shining a whole bit, but it's about the thunderstorm and all of that stuff. So we indoors. I'd like to say that I'm depressed about that, but I'm not going to be sweating. So
No,
I'm
a little cooler in
good.
here.
This humidity out here is different.
So no excuses. We got to bring it. So let's get into it. Up first, we begin with Nick Saban, who is making headlines this week. After the mother of defensive back Morris Smith told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution that Alabama is blocking her son's transfer to Georgia. Earlier this summer, it was reported that Smith was looking to leave the Alabama program as a grad transfer, which would normally allow him to be eligible to play immediately, except within the SEC. After last season ended, Alabama did not block the transfer of wideout Chris Black to Missouri, also an SEC school. So the school says the situations are different. Here is a statement from Alabama. The student-athlete Black elected to have surgery in the middle of the season and left the program because of the timing of his departure. His scholarship was not renewed, and he requested to use the graduate transfer exception through the SEC. Our decision in this situation to support the SEC waiver was the exception and not the rule. We remain happy to assist Morris to enable a transfer to any non-SEC school and have been doing everything requested regarding that throughout this process. Stephen A., is Alabama being fair or foul?
They're being not only foul, it stinks to the high heavens. And I'm not going to absolve Kirby Smart, the former defensive coordinator of Alabama, who's now the head coach at Georgia. I'm not going to absolve him from this diatribe that I'm about to go on either. Let's take Nick Saban into consideration. Molly, you can't find too many people that love and respect the greatness of Nick Saban as much as I do.
Yep.
I sit on this show on a daily basis, you know, just in reverence to and deference to the greatness of Nick Saban, not just as a coach, Ryan, but also as a man, the way that he coaches his players, the way that he holds them accountable, because I think it's preparation for the real world and real life, and you just can't replace that. I have profound respect for Nick Saban, which is why I'm so incredibly disappointed with the decision in terms of how he's handled this whole ordeal involving Maurice. I mean, here's the bottom line. Nick Saban is getting paid $7.1 million. Yes, he is a grown man. Yes, he's got his education, et cetera, et cetera. From my understanding, so did this kid. He's graduated. I mean, he doesn't need to be there any longer. He still has a year of eligibility. He wants to move on. And then you want to restrict him from doing so. Why? Because of this bogus SEC bylaw 14.5.5.1, if I remember correctly, where you're prohibited from going to another SEC school. Here's where Kirby Smart comes into the equation. Well, if the player is prohibited from going to another SEC school, how come Kirby Smart, who was a defensive coordinator under Nick Saban at Alabama for the last 8 years, how come he wasn't prohibited from going to get the job at the University of Georgia? I hear a lot of people talking about the players. I don't hear them talking about the coaches. I don't hear them talking about the ability to move. You're talking about a competitive advantage. Excuse me, who's going to have potentially more of a detrimental impact if they go to a competitor? Is it going to be Maurice Smith, or is it going to be Kirby Smart against Nick Saban's Alabama Crimson Tide. You had no problem letting him go there, by the way, to collect $3.75 million a year over the next 6 years. And so from that level, it's obviously flagrantly hypocritical when you take into account the fact that you're looking at an NCAA that sits up there and wants to say, athletes are athletes. It's a recreational activity. They're just like any other student. But then you want to treat them like an asset. You know, like Jay Billis, our great college basketball analyst on ESPN, always says he considers this transfer restriction the equivalent of a non-compete provision with an employer. Okay? Well, the bottom line is that you keep saying that the players are not employees. They are athletes. They are students. They are amateurs, etc. And yet here again is a flagrant example of you being hypocritical and violating that in terms of the NCAA. Nick Saban has made an exception with Chris Black. He should make an exception here. He should handle this with the decency it deserves. He's Alabama, for crying out loud. They won 4 of the last 7 national titles. Losing this gentleman or allowing him to transfer somewhere else is not going to be a devastating blow to your franchise. And I don't think everybody's talking to Nick Saban. They keep talking about the rule. They're not talking about a core decency involved in all of this. You're Nick Saban. You're better than this. And you should do better than this when it pertains to this particular athlete, particularly when you consider the fact that Kirby Smart was allowed to leave the program to go and be the head coach at Georgia, and I think he's going to be far more detrimental to impeding the success or the progress of Nick Saban and Alabama playing within the SEC than one particular player. And the last point that I'd like to make before I get to you, Ryan, is getting to Kirby Smart. Again, he's going to make $3.75 million. Think about this. We're talking about the SEC here, talking about a player. Their TV deal alone is $347 million. They get additional $17 million for the NCAA tournament. They get an additional $112 million for bowl games. All totaled, their TV deal, just the SEC conference, their TV deal, although it's not just football, it's all sports, their TV deal is $476 million. That's $90 million more than any other conference. And you're going to give us this transfer restriction? And then you got Kirby Smart at Georgia with this kid, A.J. Turbin. Okay, you don't want him, or you don't want him to go to the SEC.
Can't go to Miami.
But then you're going to sit up there and say, well, you could go to other schools in Florida, but not Miami, not Florida State. I mean, are you kidding me? You got a lot of nerves, a lot of gall. There is something that needs to be done. We all need to step up and speak out against the SEC conference, speak out against Nick Saban and Kirby Smart on this issue. I'm in no way denigrating the greatness as a coach and as a man of Nick Saban. I'm only talking about this one particular issue as it pertains to transfer restrictions. The SEC, Kirby Smart, and more so at this moment, Nick Saban need to be called on the carpet because this is flagrantly wrong.
See, so here's the thing. For me, I agree with you. The SEC, this is a rule, and wherever it's buried in the papers or buried in the rules and regulations of the SEC, I think it should be scrapped. I think if a kid finishes school, gets his degree, he should be able to go wherever he wants to. Nick Saban isn't wrong. Kirby Smart isn't wrong in the sense of this one kid or in the sense of Kirby Smart going to get his money. I totally agree with you on A.J. Turbin about him not being able to go to Miami, which is where his former coach, Mark Richt, went. Georgia Tech, he can't go there because it's an opponent of Georgia, a rival of Georgia, him making that decision. But as far as the SEC, unless the SEC changes their rules, unless the NCAA changes their rules, Nick Saban is in full within his rights as far as a coach, as far as a member or an employee of Alabama, the University of Alabama, to keep this kid from transferring anywhere he wants to. And if you look at the Chris Black situation, what we didn't speak of, Chris Black was smart. When he decided to put his papers in and he decided to leave, it was the week they were playing LSU. And you remember, I was on that show this week, and we were talking about Leonard Fournette maybe going up there and winning the Heisman Trophy that week. Can Derrick Henry get in the race? LSU was coming in undefeated in number 2. Alabama coming off of Ole Miss. They just didn't file the papers to deny. You have 7 days to do it, and Alabama just didn't do it. And that's why he was allowed to go to Missouri. The thing that Nick Saban's fighting here, he's not fighting Maurice going to this school. what he's fighting is the next guy that wants to leave LSU that may be detrimental, Alabama, that may be detrimental to what they're trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish. The next guy who wants to leave, who they don't want to play. If you start making exceptions for this guy, because maybe you look at him and say, you know what, if Maurice Smith goes to Georgia, is he going to scare me? Is it going to be a problem to play him? Obviously, he doesn't feel like it will be because he has Mika Fitzpatrick. He has Cyrus Jones, who was there last year. Now, we got to start talking to these kids who go to these schools and get fooled that, oh, I'm going to play early. Oh, I'm going to be a star there. I'm a 5-star, 4-star player. This is what Nick Saban told me. This is what Kirby Smart told me. And start educating them on, listen, you're going there to get your degree, but if you're talking about playing, the next Maurice Smith that comes out, that's a 4-star kid, they're going to get him too. And if you don't show early enough, you may not play because they're going to keep bringing them in and keep having people at your position. And the rule says that if you leave, you can't go to an SEC school. So though I don't agree with everything Nick Saban does, and I played for him, I had to go to his office my junior year. I'm walking off the field, taking my pads off, and somebody stops me and says, Ryan, don't let him get to you. You have a chance to play in the league. So I know how hard it is to deal with him. And you're right, he makes men. But if the rules and regulations say he can keep this kid from going to school, he is not wrong. Now, we may want him to be a better person, Stephen A.
Right.
Because we want him to show better.
Right.
But he's not wrong by not letting this kid go.
Let me say this to you. And I'm very surprised and, dare I say, disappointed, Ryan Clark, that you wouldn't agree with me on this particular situation. But I'll forgive you because I'm here to educate, my man. Let me ask you a question, Ryan Clark. Are you familiar with the Alabama program prior to the Nick Saban era?
I am. I played.
So some dude named Mike Shula had 4-9, 6-6. He had a 10-2 season. He went 6-6 his last season there. Mike Shula. He said before he was gone, right?
He's got some restaurants.
That sounds really familiar.
Mike Shula, right? But not only that, where did Nick Saban, of his 5 national championships on his resume, where did the first one come?
Came at LSU?
Yeah, came at LSU, right? That's where you play, right? Came at LSU, right? I'm sorry to refresh my memory because I might be a bit foggy here. Because far be it for me to assume that I know any football compared to the likes of you and others. But isn't the LSU Tigers in the same conference as Alabama?
Yes.
So in other words, it's okay for the coach to ultimately, even though he didn't go from LSU to Alabama, it's okay for a coach in the SEC, like Kirby Smart, to go from one program to the other within the conference. But it's not okay for the players because, by God, we want to make sure that we protect a competitive advantage. I'm saying to you, Ryan, I understand that he's not breaking any rules here. I understand that in terms of the letter of the law, particularly with SEC bylaws, Nick Saban is totally inoculated from all of that. He is protected. I get that. But there is a difference between being within your right and being righteous. And the Nick Saban that I know not only is known for being righteous, but self-righteous on many occasions because he does not hesitate to preach about what's right and wrong and the things that we should be doing and the things that we shouldn't be doing. This man is a football coach. He's a 5-time national champion. He's won 4 of the last national championships at Alabama. And this is the same guy that will take time out of his busy schedule because he's loaded with a busy schedule and will take the time out to chew out the media on any different day because of what he believes. But here you are conducting yourself, hiding behind the SEC bylaw in order to do something you must know is unrighteous. Because I got news for you. Nick Chubb or somebody could elect to transfer from Georgia to Alabama. They'll be stopped. Who's more valuable, Nick Chubb or Kirby Smart, if Kirby Smart can coach? Who's more valuable, Derrick Henry when he was at Alabama or Nick Saban? It's Nick Saban. An elite coach could, in all likelihood, do more damage to the opposition than one in particular player. But they let them go. They let them go, not only get and leave a program to one another, but get paid lovely for it.
You're talking about 2 different things, though, and you're asking Nick Saban to be righteous. You said it right. He's self-righteous. He does what Nick Saban thinks is right. He doesn't do what he thinks is right and black and white for us to understand.
But that's exactly where I'm going.
That's not what he does.
I'm saying he should believe that this is right. He should believe that black, just like you let him transfer, he should believe that this is the right thing to do for Maurice Smith. That is what I am saying.
Right, but he's not going to believe that because he looks in the future. The reason he wins is because it's not about today. It's about what he sees coming in the future. And if you let these kids leave, now, if the SEC changes the rule, we would have a different conversation. I would have a different conversation.
Right.
I have a child that I want to get this opportunity one day.
Okay.
And I'm going to educate him before he goes. When you make this decision, make it knowing what the consequences can be down the road. Because I'm not expecting Nick Saban to be righteous.
But check this out,
I'm not expecting him to not leave Miami in the night and go be the coach at Alabama. Because I've seen him do stuff like that.
But you see
I've seen him leave LSU after saying he wasn't.
There you go.
So why am I going to expect him to be righteous today?
Wait a minute, because you're a kid and you don't know better. Because that kid that was 14, 15, 16 years old, looking at him as not the grown man that Ryan Clark is. So he's not going to see the forest from the trees and recognize what I don't want to call it duplicitous. I don't want to call it corrupt. I don't want to say the wrong word here. But they're kids for a reason. That's why when you walk into a house, you say, I'm walking into that parent's home. I'm making sure I talk to those parents because I want them to know that their son is going to be in good hands with me. I'm saying you can't expect a kid to see the forest from the trees the way we do as adults. So if you are Nick Saban or any other coach out there, I do expect you to be righteous, not just self-righteous. I do expect you to sit there and go like this. You know what? I don't want this guy to leave. It would be, something detrimental to us. But you know what? I'm a coach here for a reason. I'm getting paid $7.1 million. I'm Kirby Smart. I'm getting paid $3.75 million. I'll figure out a way to make it work despite losing those players rather than holding them up.
Told Max Kellerman something yesterday. He said, if you making your decisions on the kids, you're going to have a long life. Right. If you're expecting college coaches to be self-righteous, your life going to be just as long.
I'm saying that there are certain guys that can afford to. If anybody in this nation, in college football, can afford to let a guy go and overcome that exodus, it is Nick Saban. He can pull it off. And because he can pull it off, and because of his greatness, and because of the cachet, and he's not worried about job security, the fact that he's sitting there and holding this guy out is reprehensible, and Kirby Smart ain't too damn better.
First take hot out of the gate from Tampa. Our Super Bowl champ over here bringing it too. When we come back,
he brought it.
The NFC South, of course, is jam-packed with high-caliber quarterbacks. So where does Jameis Winston rank among them? We'll get into that. More First Take from Bucks Camp in a moment. Stay here.